In the little book of Lykke, Meik Wiking writes, "A city is successful not when it's rich, but when its people are happy. Creating bikeability and walkability shows respect for human dignity. We're telling people you are important, not because you're rich, but because you are human. If people are treated as special, as sacred even, they behave that way. We need to walk just as birds need to fly. Creating public spaces is one way to lead us to a society that is not only more equal, but also much happier." I thought that this was a beautiful passage in this book, and it's sort of zooming in on a simple idea, the idea of making spaces and places easily navigatable, that you can walk them easily, that you can bike them easily, that you don't need the expense and the hassle of a car to do simple things, or even to just go out and enjoy the area where you live or the neighborhood. And also the amplifying of this simple idea and what it really represents, which is, hey, this sidewalk is for everybody. Whether you make $60 million a year or you make $12,000 a year, you can both utilize the same sidewalk or the same bike lane. And one of you may have a private driver, and a private jet for that matter, and one of you may ride the public transit. Or you may have an older car that is kind of limping along. And those things are social statuses that are easily identifiable, much like the homes and the neighborhoods in which we live in, when we've placed housing and neighborhood quality as a commodity as opposed to a basic need. And so setting up a city and a town in a way in which it allows its people to easily and freely navigate the space by foot or by bike, as well as by car, and maybe even also by public transit. Doing those things shows a basic care for humans, but in that basic care is actually a realization and an acknowledgement of the idea that there are fundamental things that should be allowed and should be provided to everyone, regardless of any of the other aspects of their life, including their income. Birds need to fly. People need to walk. It's how we get around, and it's how we mingle, and how we become familiar with each other. Think about the idea of leaving the box that is your house or your apartment, and then getting in the box that is your car, and you probably don't speak to anyone in that process, and then staying in that box until you go to wherever you're going to. But if you were to be able to be out and about and walking down the street or biking down the pathway, it may give you an additional opportunity to encounter someone, even if to exchange a friendly glance or a hello. It doesn't have to be an engrossing conversation every single time to start to cultivate a greater sense of community. And lastly, this idea that if people are treated as special, they behave that way. Think of some of the reasons why dress codes exist, why uniforms exist. Think of some of the reasons why playing classical music in public spaces helps create a more calming and inviting and relaxed atmosphere. There are certain triggers that lie within the human consciousness that sort of point us in a direction to act and behave a certain way, and we aren't even fully aware of it. It's happening at a deeper level. And having basic requirements that everyone has, the necessity to freely move around, absent of a gas or electric car, or whatever it is. Having another option, the bipedal movement that we've relied on for our entire course of our being as humans, that and the simple dignity of that can go a long way to improving the more complex aspects of society as a whole.